eSportsBets.com, a unique place for true gamers. The only place to bet on esports events. You know your way around a competitive gaming scene and are willing to take a risk? Watch regular broadcasts and earn real money. eSportsBets.com. Foresight, passion, and calculation.
Starladder falls! Lakewood are doing it! They're gonna take! He's gonna bring down Bernie! Alone with a double kill! Dropping fast! Monopoint's there! He's still alive! Wait, oh, second slide! He's got one side! He's got a second! He's taking it out! Oh my god! On three! They're all dead!
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Starladder Season 10, Day 1 coverage for the Southeast Asian region. We had a long break, but alas, we are here with game number 2 of 3 for the day. I'm Zyori, solo in the studio, and joined remotely once again by Blaze. Blaze, my friend, what's the good word here coming into execration versus MSI?
Well, if you're expecting the same caliber and, I don't know, nitpickiness of play, hand casting, as you expect from like a game and matchup like Arrow versus Titan, you're in the wrong place, because this is Pinoy Dota. This is the Philippines going at it head-to-head, and they pull out some crazy stuff. Haven't actually had the pleasure and privilege to cast a game of Philippines versus Philippines in quite some time, but it gets a little wild. They pull out the full pub meta and some really next-level stuff, even though it can be questionable at times. For now, the draft seems a little standard. Other than a off Meepo ban, we do see the Razor, the Skywrath, the Void, all very prominent in the metagame. Even Death Prophet seems to be a pretty signature pickup, but I don't expect that to last for long. I expect some very interesting things to follow suit.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you mentioned, the Meepo ban is a little bit of respect coming out there. You don't see that too often, but, well, they must have a mysterious Meepo player in their midst. I'm going to recall with Blaze really quickly here. Try and sort out those little robotic sounds there. Hopefully he can hop back in the call pretty quickly. But yeah, Razor Skywrath for IAP over there. It's going to take me a little while to get used to that name. It's execration in my head, but they're now tagged up as Interactive Philippines. So, pardon me. Let me... Hello?
Hello.
There you go. Now you sound a little better. Sorry about that.
Cool.
10 seconds
So yeah,
remaining.
hopefully you may need to call me if lag continues, but we'll see how it goes.
5 seconds.
Anyway,
remaining.
execration. I guess they're under a name change now. They're tagged up here as Interactive Philippines, so that'll take me a little while to get used to. IAP.
Yeah, a lot of sponsorship in the Philippines switches kind of willy-nilly every couple of weeks and stuff like that. For all I know, it could be the name of the PC bong that they're playing at as 5, and they like to include that name there to get maybe a better pricing per hour on their machines. Like, I've seen that time to time, and it does happen. But yeah, it's just kind of interesting how they kind of change up the names, change up the who covers their fees, and how they can move forward in the kind of the support staff aspect of it. They don't have the traditional setup. They don't have, you know, gaming houses and coaches and managers and all that stuff. I mean, sometimes they do, but not to the same way we know it in the West and in the Chinese scene. So it definitely is a whole different layout behind the scenes for them.
Yeah, absolutely. The LAN culture as well is just something completely different. That is one thing our intern taught me, is that LAN culture in America ain't what it is in Southeast Asia. But third and fourth bans for both sides coming out here. Execration will take out Ancient Apparition and Shadow Shaman, 2 heroes that pair very nicely with the Faceless Void. But there you go. Witch Doctor, the third choice for MSI. And already they've got the makings of a pretty scary Death Ball. Lots of damage to put into that Chronosphere, and of course plenty of pushing power with that Death Prophet.
Yeah, a lot of potential to get the early kills. I really want to see an early point in Voodoo Restoration just reinforce the push, because the one thing the Death Prophet really lacks is ability to sustain her own creep. She can clear out the wave really easily with Crypt Swarm. She can do a lot of damage if the tower's not focusing her with the Exorcism, but she needs that heal. So Witch Doctor will probably pick that up around level 2. And maybe they can put some real emphasis there in sustaining their own lane, and then once they start collaborating, pushing pretty hard here. But Still, some heroes that are pretty well counteracted by a hero like Skywrath Mage. You put a silence onto Faceless Void when he jumps in, the Chronos shut down. You put a silence out onto the Death Ward, and that counteracts a very powerful ultimate. So if they can just kind of focus their burst on the Death Prophet while managing their disables against the alternate threats, then I think that IAP should be able to manage this pretty well so far.
Yep, I believe so as well. Viper, the kind of pub stompy hero we've seen picked up intermittently in SEA. Some teams like him, some teams don't, but nice flexible hero that can fit into most drafts. Chen will be the 4th pick for MSI Evo, so that's some more pushing power on the field. Their second support will be in the jungle to get things kicked off. Looks like either an offlaner or a position 1 will be their final choice, depending on what they want to do with their Faceless Void. And there's a Sand King for Execration.
Yeah, a lot of potential there. Skywrath and Sand King roaming. You get the concussive to set up the Burrow Strike, and of course that magical damage amplification in conjunction with all of his potency there. So I think there's going to be a lot of activity from those two supports. The Viper and the Razor are both heroes that can hold their own on a lane for an extended period of time. So you leave them solo, and then from there, Skywrath and Sand King don't even need to really have a resolute lane. They'll find their level 2, level 3 by getting kills, and then that will leave Sand King to jungle up his Blink Dagger. So pretty good position to broach into the early mid game. But of course, if there's enough tower momentum because of Chen, Death Prophet, and Witch Doctor, we still might see a lot of momentum behind MSI Evo.
10 seconds.
Yeah, sort of similar to that first game we saw where if, again, if the Radiant side with the slightly greedier draft of that jungler, if they don't get pressured, Chen has a good time, and his camps don't get warded. Maybe he has a successful gank. This death ball might get started a little bit earlier than anticipated. Conversely, maybe if DP gets off to a slow start, if they roam on her early, or if they shut down the Chen, that death ball might get off to a slow start and never really hit the ground running. So with these kind of snowbally teams, the initial laning phase and those first couple kills are actually pretty darn important, more so than if you're running more of those kind of late game oriented strategies. Centaur, the final ban for MSI. It makes some sense here as Execration do need an offlaner with their final pick. Still a couple options in the pool, but Centaur will not be one of them. And Execration will take their time with their final ban, trying to figure out what MSI will do with this Faceless Void. Will he be in the position 1, or will he be in the offlane?
Yeah, it's hard to say because there's a lot of merit to be had with just a Faceless Void holding position and just trying to make sure that he doesn't get in range for the silence. Obviously, the silence would shut down his time walk, but he can survive fairly well in that offlane scenario, and then they can actually get a pushing carry to go along with the pushing lineup. If you're just having the Chen and the Witch Doctor and a couple of neutral creeps banging on the tower, that's something. But if you get like a Weaver or Luna, or really any carry that'll pick up a Basilius early, then you're going to be able to actually reinforce that push and manage your time more effectively. So I'd love to see something of that nature more so on the safe lane, and then put Void somewhere where he can still do good and provide utility, but not necessarily be limiting their push.
Yeah, the Silencer is the final ban for IAP, but it seems sort of out of left field to me. I mean, Silencer is certainly a strong hero right now, either as a support or a carry, but I just don't see how he really fits into the MSI draft, unless they have something that Silencer counters coming up with their 5th pick.
Well, there is one thing where Faceless Void jumps in and then Sand King tries to epicenter and get into the bubble himself. So in that case, you might want to cover like the last couple of seconds of your Chronosphere with a Global Silence that makes it not only dominant to get a 1 or 2 kills in the Chrono alone, then you follow up with just a team fight that cannot be counteracted. So I think that might be just something that they don't feel they can deal with, and they obviously don't want to go for BKBs here. So it seems an okay ban out, but yeah, you're right. It doesn't seem to be the biggest threat compared to just a standard carry like a Gyrocopter here.
Yeah, and you talked about a carry that'll go Basilius and synergize with the push, and Gyrocopter is one such hero. Also one that really works well with the Faceless Void if he's in the offlane position because of that flat cannon, even call down. He's just well suited to dump a lot of damage into that Chronosphere. So I like this a little bit more. A lot of physical damage from MSI between the Gyro, Witch Doctor, and the DP, and then the Faceless Void on top of that. It is physical damage galore. So, I don't know. I think we might see a Ghost Scepter or two this game, Blaze. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they're going to pretty much need it, especially on the Skywrath Mage. He's just a glass cannon. Yeah. He's very, very vulnerable, and that he's going to have to avoid that. But this will help them out a little bit. A hero that can create space in the fights, kind of stand on the front line, and then get that Drunken Haze out to provide some mischance. The big thing about mischance against Chronosphere is you can negate evasion, but you don't negate the haze. So that's going to be a thorn in the side of both Gyrocopter and Faces Void for some time. Now, there was a point where I was under the misconception that Flat Cannon, as long as the single target hit, that all the other hits would actually hit guaranteed, but that's what is actually not true. The cleave effect is coded differently to the point that actually Gyrocopter's Flat Cannon is also very drastically limited by the Drunken Haze. So maybe he'll have to go for an early Manta style to be able to deal with all these problems.
So the interaction is if Gyrocopter has Drunken Haze, each Flat Cannon missile that goes out has a chance to miss according to the Drunken Haze mischance. Is that they're like individual things?
And
so
it's kind of
okay.
twofold because the Flat Cannon doesn't even proc if he doesn't land the original hit. So he has to hit, not miss that first hit, and then each of the secondary hits will also be judged by the mischance there. So it's a little frustrating for him.
Oh, okay. So it's a twofold effect. That's an interesting interaction between Brewmaster and Gyrocopter. And Gyro has fallen out of popularity so much, you really don't get to see that interaction. At least I haven't seen it too much on this patch. So something to keep an eye out for sure. But we will see. Our second game commence now. Dire side with a 5-man group headed towards the top lane. It looks like they want to stop some wards from coming down and keep their pull camp safe out of the gate.
Yeah, they're about control right now, but I actually kind of think that they'd be having a little bit more luck if they were invading the enemy jungle, if they were shutting down Chen's spawns. At least the key central spawn, the hard camp that spawns in the middle of the Radiant, if they were negating that, that would be so impactful to holding onto their early game. As it is right now, whoever they send to the offlane isn't really going to have the counter push necessary to hold the tier 1 for long, and that's just going to be giving momentum to MSI when they actually can benefit from it substantially. Gyro, Faceless Void, even Death Prophet and Witch Doctor, if they get just that extra 200 gold and maybe a last hit on the tower, that's going to put them immensely forward as far as dealing with IAP in the mid game.
Yeah, definitely agreed on that front. Wow, I'm checking out this awesome gyro set here. This is pretty cool looking. I like that. The hair blown back as if he's cruising at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I like it.
And he's got like the full set. So I think that one of them is a munition, like an ammunition. So that would mean that his like flat cannon looks different, stuff like that. We'll have to take a look.
Oh yeah, the dragon missile. All right, we'll keep an eye out for that. Should be interesting. I don't think I've seen this set in action. So. All right. Well, no early skirmish will come out. Void does get his ward down. It was pulled to him, and he doesn't go for the pull camp block, but he throws it down right here to block this big camp. And I believe that's in the box, right? This ward blocks?
Yeah.
I thought so. All right. And the other Radiant ward is down here in the mid lane. So no ward coverage for the Radiant side. They'll rely on Chen in the jungle to poke his way over, and the supports to control these runes. Dire side rune coverage. They get one on the high ground there. And I don't know if they put their second one down or have they already lost a sentry battle. Nope, they're still holding it. Sand King's got it, and they'll decide where they want to go.
Interesting. So they're going to block this one off twofold. Essentially, with this Magic Bush ward, they negate any potential stacking for the pull camp as well as the central hard camp. And then even if that's dewarded, which it most likely will be, then they probably won't have a sentry ward in range for the western ward here, which is also in the box.
Yep. Very smart warding coming out from XXCTN, a.k.a. IAP, the Interactive Philippines, as they're tagged up here. Probably use them both interchangeably, so just keep yourselves prepared. Down bottom lane, though, we'll see Gyrocopter initiated upon. Emma Stone comes in with the Burrow Strike. In comes Fox with the Thunderclap as well, but they just don't have the damage. Gyro, not a hero you want to square off with a level 1. That Rocket Barrage doing a lot of damage to Brewmaster. And now they'll go for the turnaround. Dark Troll Summoner with an Ensnare ready, flying through. Will connect onto the Brewmaster, but where's the follow-up damage? They don't have it. Paralyzing Cast still cooling down, and Brewmaster will survive. Now Emma Stone, the target of choice. Burrow Strike available, but he'll wrap around into the jungle. Rocket Barrage is online, and may force out the Burrow Strike here. Will get Emma rather low. And this could be a first blood. He's in no man's land.
Yeah, if he had Burrow Struck over the trees, he might have had a better shot at it, but now he's being converged on. The mid lane's coming in. Death Prophet's here, and this is a really bad spot unless the juke is successful. Yeah,
he has no TP. He'll eat into the trees. This is pretty cheeky. Right now he's pulling a lot of attention. The mid lane as well. This is time that Death Prophet isn't farming. They can't find him. They don't know where he's gotten off to. He has no TP. They should have checked the inventory to see he doesn't have one. So they should know he's still around. But how much in the way of resources do they want to commit to this? And not much. He will get scattered out by the Chen, but the juke's successful, at least for now. Auto attacks. Now DP rotating over once again. But now he can just Burrow Strike into the low ground. Ooh, even pulls out a Crypt Swarm. A little bit of wasted mana there. This is a value Sand King right here. That whole time, Chen not farming and even pulled Death Prophet from the lane. Very nicely done.
Juke City. That is working out very much in their favor. And it does mean the Gyrocopter is going to have some 2v2 time, which I guess is okay for him. He's now got...
2 last hits, so great.
Yeah, I mean, the Magic 6 is important, though. If you can just farm up that little extra gold, you can actually deal with all these oppressive spellcasts very directly, because you're going to see 2 spellcasts from most of these individuals, at the very least the Skywrath, and from there the Magic Stick is pretty much going to be the difference between life and death.
Fair point, fair point. But still, Gyro struggling in the farm, especially relative to the position 1 of Execration, who, of course, is Razor. He is the last hit leader now, 17-5. Brew actually number 2, the offlaner for, or pardon me, the position, the offlaner for IAP. I don't know why I got so twisted there, but Execration are off to the races here in terms of the laning phase. Just looking at the initial last hits, that's a lot of red floating towards the top. DP is the saving grace right now, who's the only one in the double digits of creep kills on our Radiant side here, which is certainly a cause for concern. Already, only 4 minutes in, we see our Dire side with a 750 gold advantage.
Yeah, and a lot of that can be misleading. The fact that Chen has 9 CS doesn't really matter much because of the fact that most of that is jungle creeps. Some of the smaller camps don't really give that much gold density. And as well, it's on your Chen. Like, he's not going to be able to build up much in the earlier stages. He's probably going to go Basilius and Boots. And then we also get to look at his jungle and see that there's no camp spawn because of the warding that we talked about previously. So that's going to be even more choked up. And I have to say that they're dramatically losing the phase right now, especially on top lane. Void versus Razor is the opposite of a good matchup, and he's got his phase boots already. Jeez, you can just run away with this one.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing this Void can do now besides time walk away, basically. Hope for some backtrack RNG, but if this Razor gets in his face or if he misuses that time walk or does anything remotely aggressive, Razor will undoubtedly be able to track him down and at this point maybe even chase him down. You mentioned the phase boots. That's a big movement speed advantage for the Razor. So even if Void time walks not into the trees, there's still a chance that Razor could be successful with a dive. Down bottom, initiation coming from the Radiant side. They'll be the aggressors here, but the follow-up just isn't there. Drunken Haze comes out on the Gyrocopter, and that will be enough for MSI to stop the assault.
Yep, and meanwhile we do see Emma Stone, aka Ralphie, already in his own jungle stacking things up. If he does find his level 3 at a good pace, he is going to be pursuing that Blink Dagger, looking for an opening here on the mid lane, but I don't think he's going to find it. Death Prophet's a pretty quick hero to be on her feet, 2 points in Witchcraft, and seems to be aware of the threat. This Radiant Observer ward on the high ground.
Yep, has perfect vision of the Sand King, and that's what that ward is for. So DP will survive the onslaught for now. She's got boots in a bottle, making some recovery here from that wasted time in lane. Actually just about even with the Viper, a few CS ahead. So she truly is the saving grace for the Radiant side right now. Gyrocopter finding a little bit of farm now, but he's even with the Brew. And right now it is a 3v2 in that bottom lane, so that's definitely good for the Brewmaster. Yep, in the mid now, Death Prophet will get caught. Viper hits level 6, throws out the Viper Strike. Nowhere for the DP to go. And Emma Stone will come in to secure the kill. That's a first blood drawn, goes the way of Viper. And now the snowball will start rolling.
Yeah, good awareness from him. He saw that how DP was moving and reacting based on his movements, knew there was a ward in play, and just said, okay, I'll smoke into it. Found the opportunity with that ultimate. So that was really, really effective, and that first blood is going to set Viper very far ahead.
Certainly so. Let's check in on Chen and see how he's faring. Now has a Basilius up, so steps in the right direction. They have kind of given up on the counter warding here. The Magic Bush Sentry has despawned. But the Observer is still sitting in the jungle here, so Chen's life is, well, may get a little easier. We'll see if IAP want to put some more wards down or if they feel the damage has been done, and they'll save the wards for something a bit different. But they're at this point now where Chen is already pretty crippled. If they could pick him off and continue to make his life difficult, then this Chen will possibly never truly come online this game.
Yeah, it's very possible. I mean, even finding level 6 is going to be a little difficult for him unless he stays completely passive for the first 10 minutes of the game. That's not what you want to do with a Chen. Chen is all about the early momentum, get those neutros up, start getting kills, start getting pushes, and unfortunately with such an active, aggressive tri lane to start things off, it's just very, very difficult. And now, with good awareness, with good movement, they've been able to avoid a couple of his ganks, and he's kind of just shown to be a bit lackluster, waiting for his spawns on the western half. And yeah, that's what this warding is all about. If you counteract one of his major spawns, He just can't rotate at the timing that he wants to. We do see a rotation, though, from Void, interestingly enough. It's not the hero you expect to have jumping on you 7 minutes in the game, but with a Chronosphere, this Viper might be in grave danger.
Yeah, even though Void got massively out-farmed by the Razor, he was still able to stay in experience range, and he did a good job positioning himself so that Razor couldn't easily man up on him and dive the tower, but still hitting level 6 in a very timely manner. Exorcism pop, they'll go straight for the tower. If Viper oversteps his bounds, of course the Void will be eager to jump on him, drop the Chronosphere, and look for a kill, but they'll also settle for a lot of damage on this Tier 1 tower. IAP, though, they won't stand for it. TP in from the Razor. He says, hey, Void, you might be able to rotate, but I can do that too. And with that, the push will be repelled. First Exorcism does half damage to the Tier 1 tower, so not bad, but IAP easily hold it.
Yeah, with this draft, they were expecting to get a lot more out of the early stages, and IAP have just kind of answered against that very effectively. So right now, as it stands, like they have some sustained with the Witch Doctor's Voodoo Restoration, but very soon, IAP are going to have some of their own. The Razor's moving towards this mechanism very, very quickly with his successful phase, or maybe not, actually. He's going for a full drum, interestingly enough. I did not expect that, given the Ring of Regen. That has essentially been picked up casually, but usually you would see the mechanism come out from him, but instead it's going to be Passan in the mid lane who's farming it up. So one way or another, they'll have it, and they will have the effective HP to deal with major threats. Speaking of, down bottom.
Yep, Sand King, he'll get caught out once again. Can he continue with the jukes? Hole in the trees, he finds it. There's your Sandstorm, but this time DP comes in with a Crypt Swarm, and that'll finish him off. So as they say, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. I said it backwards. I know it, but still, they'll shut down the Sand King this time. Ties it up 1-1 here at the 9-minute mark. A slow game getting started by IAP, still hanging on to their early lead. DP with an ultimate on cooldown for another 20 seconds. Perhaps looking to put some pressure on this bottom Tier 1 tower, but as we saw before, it's just not so easy to take these towers down. Razor will be PN if he's so inclined, and straight away grabs the TP scroll, has the drums complete, and he's ready to fight. Crypt Swarm hits him in the face. He takes a paralyzing cast, but look at all the damage output already. Sustain from Witch Doctor will help pick him back up, but in terms of pressuring this tower, they've already been repelled.
Yeah, it's very difficult to move in against this. The Viper isn't here with the mechanism and doesn't have a TP scroll, so it is going to be essentially a 4v5, and they do have the Chronosphere. So I do see some real potential for them to take it, but they have to go now.
Yep, Exorcism popped, and now they start chipping at the tower. They don't have a glyph here. Viper will just chip at the Tier 1 mid, and he is committed to it. Maybe, is there a TP coming on the Courier? There is. So if they can extend this fight, maybe the Viper can TP in, but tower getting very low. Now they go in for it, looking for the deny, and they won't let them secure the kill at the very least. Now MSI in some trouble. There's the Primal Split. Boulder out on the Gyrocopter. Tower gets denied. They want the Gyro, but he gets sent home. Well played by the Chen. Tornado out on the Void, so he can't get off a defensive Chrono. They're chasing down the Witch Doctor. He'll survive as well. Now Void. Time walks over the trees. Chronosphere still available. Plenty of mana. There's a Radiant Courier flying into the mix as well. Yu moves into the tower. There's the Chronosphere. Tower shots hitting him down. Nice setup from the Void, but the Eye of the Storm doing some serious damage here. Razor survives. Burrow strike in. Now the turn comes. Razor will still fall, but they'll commit. Finish off the Gyrocopter. Sand King gets picked off around the backside. Panda diving the tower. Wants the Witch Doctor. Won't find it. Viper's now joined the party. Chen locked down. Chen falls to the Viper. Void mans up onto the Skywrath, but it's a mistake, and it'll cost him. And now IAP secure the team fight. Death Prophet picks up another kill on the Skywrath, but Viper does finish him down, and it's a triple kill for Execration's mid-hero. Viper comes in late to the party, but he brought the chips, and he cleaned it up.
Absolutely. There were a couple of mistakes on both sides by far. The fact that the Chen Test of Faith went through, even though they had the Wind Panda available for Dispelled Magic, that was a pretty big error in my opinion. But the bigger one, the Chronosphere from Bayabas, essentially only had him and the tower dealing damage. He'd chronoed 2 of his allies. It was close, they were just on the lip of it, but it's kind of a binary thing. You're in or you're out. And in that case, he really didn't turn the fight around like they had hoped he would with that chrono. So they get gunned down, now 5 for 4 in favor of IAP, and this is where they really start coming online in full. The Sand King's still a little behind. He's only got 1,000 gold and is level 5, but everybody else is ready to rumble.
Yeah, and we saw in that fight one of the reasons why Razor is a decent hero against Void, because if you get the Eye of the Storm off and he pops the Chrono, it still does some damage. The Void was in there and almost died to the Razor's ultimate while they were trying to secure that kill. So Razor also just not your ideal target to strike down in the Chrono right now, because he's rather tanky with those early Drone of Endurance. We'll see in the mid another skirmish start to break out. The call down connects on 2 and does some chip damage, but the mech is there from Passan, and that'll pick him right back up to full. And that'll be the end of the skirmish. Invisibility rune picked up by Chen. He is still not level 6, so the all heal not online, but he's pretty darn close. If he finds another creep kill or 2, maybe a hero kill, he will have it for this next team fight. And it looks like it will come pretty soon here as MSI group up for the death ball to commence up at this top tier 1 tower. So far their pushing efforts have been rather unsuccessful. They've only secured 1 tower kill, but it was denied following that last fight. This time, the interactive Philippines will opt for a tower exchange rather than a defense. They'll let their top tier 1 fall in exchange for the mid tier 1 of the Radiant.
So with that trade out, I would have to say that IAP are pretty comfortable with the situation. The exorcism being blown and essentially just drawing even. Now they can hold the line up here, and it's going to be gone before the fight begins.
Yep, Razor harassing with the Plasma Field to get things started. Has a maxed out Plasma Field. This is a slightly different Razor build than we're used to as well. Generally speaking, we see Static Link as the primary ability and Plasma Field as the secondary. But here we see a 4-2-2 at level 9, which is working well for him. He's been doing a lot of damage with the Plasma Field, but certainly a different take on the hero.
Yeah, I think the biggest aspect of it is the counter push you can be provided. We've seen him multiple times over just annihilate a creep wave with the Plasma Field down on bottom lane, and that delayed, I would say, a good minute and a half on the tier 1's death, and then of course they got the deny on it, so it's just a general zone denial position. Now down on bottom, Brewmaster will pop his ultimate going right onto the gyrocopter, and he should be falling here quite abruptly. Unless the Witch Doctor heal is enough, they will try, but one more stun to come out. There's the Hand of God, and now they're going to try to turn it around.
Yeah, they sure will. Void with a Chronosphere available. Gyrocopter getting low. Support is inbound. They smoked up to get here a little more quickly. Now they'll go straight in on the Witch Doctor. Viper Strike, Paralyzing Cask flying through. Ugh. Tied my tongue into a knot there, but they secured the kill on the Witch Doctor. The sustain heal helped keep the Gyro alive, but not enough to save the Witch Doctor from the 1v4. Up. Meanwhile, up in the top, whoa, it's the Razor all by his lonesome. And he's pretty speedy. Looks like he will be able to scoot away. Does draw a couple of TPs. Some serious space creation from this Razor. Not the lane that MSI want to be in right now. IAP will go bottom. They will secure this tier 1 tower kill, and Razor survives easily with a haste rune.
I think the Dark Troll Summoner was in range for the Ensnare to try to knock him down. If they had that, they could follow through with 2 more stuns pretty conveniently, but they just didn't have the timing, the cast, whatever, and now they're going to have to chrono him in the mid.
Yeah, call down flies, and now Razor will fall. Gets, well, just completely picked off. He survived the onslaught, but they chased him down and got a little greedy there in the mid lane. So they are rewarded for their vigilance in trying to secure that Razor. Viper now has the point booster delivered, so he'll tank up a little bit more as once again MSI will group up for another hero or tower push. This is the tier 1 in the mid. IAP in position to defend. Epicenter being channeling. Blink daggers at the ready, and it will connect right onto the Witch Doctor. A little bit of follow-up damage onto the rest of the team, but Witch Doctor takes the brunt of it. And again, that 1 kill, enough to repel the forces of our Radiant side.
Yeah, quite easily, and they're going to have the Primal split up in 40 seconds, and then they can go for Roshan or for pushing, however they really desire, because they know that the Faceless Void dropped his Chronosphere, and that's a really long cooldown at level 1, so if they coordinate their push, they can take 1 more tower off of this. Just kind of holding position is so easy for them at this stage in the game. Obviously, they have to look towards late game and say, okay, 45, 50 minutes in Gyro, Faceless Void, those are some scary heroes. But for now, they're managing very, very effectively, and it's going to be harder and harder for MSI.
This Chen with a stroke of luck here. Brewmaster walked right by him, and nighttime was enough to keep Chen alive. Chen sitting right here. Brew walked just over this path by the tree and was so close to scouting that out. He even has a Blink Dagger as well. Chen without an ultimate. I think that would have been a certain kill, but Chen will survive to tell the tale, as it were. Headdress now up on him and Brown Boot, so he's working on a mech, but still pretty far off the mark. In the mid lane, Death Prophet caught by a Mystic Flare. Will use the Yule's Scepter for a bit of a reset, and that's enough to keep him alive, at least for now. Void in the mix, has a time walk to the high ground. No chrono available, and they just can't get there in time to lock him down. Space creation, as up top, IAP pressuring this tower. They force out the glyph, and yep, exactly right. Mid-tier 1 tower is denied. So 3 towers fallen on the side of the Dire, but 2 of them were denied.
Yeah, I mean, taking only 1 tower on your terms with this kind of a lineup seems quite lackluster indeed. I mean, soon they're going to have Death Prophet's ulti at level 2, and that's going to be pretty huge. But at the moment, they just have to do everything they can to start a good fight.
Chronosphere on Viper. Follow-up damage is inbound, but IAP, they're all here. The all-heal comes out, but it won't keep the Death Prophet alive as the Primal Split comes out. Burrow Strike from the Sand King connects on 2, secures the kill on the Witch Doctor and the Gyro. Void falls shortly after, and it's a 4-for-0 exchange in the top lane as IAP turn it around. It was MSI who were the aggressors with the Chrono, but the support was there. and it's an easy team fight for the Dire, who are rewarded with another Tier 1 tower kill.
Yeah, and they're going to even put some huge damage into this Tier 2 quite easily. They've got the drum, they've got the heroes, and it's just a bloodbath right now. IAP are running over their opponents, and there's very little that MSI have to be able to do. I mean, the Death Ward was a good idea, but Sand King was right on top of him with the Burrow Strike, and yeah, they're just kind of building up for this whole shake 'em and bake 'em strat with the Fire Remnant as well as the Epicenter just dealing so much AoE magic damage. Even that Plasma Field that we weren't so sure about before, it's so good at burst damage, and it enables him to just really quickly turn a fight on its head.
Yeah, and following that fight now, Razor only 500 gold off his Ag Scepter here, only 18 minutes into this game. Chen still desperately trying to farm this mech. Has 600 gold towards the recipe and not too far off now that he's finally got the ball rolling. Level 8, he's got 2 tomatoes and a little Satyr Tormentor there, so he can farm pretty easily, but uh-oh, trouble is lurking in the trees. He puts down a ward, so he knows that there's vision of him. And what he doesn't know is that there's onslaught coming. Oh, wait, he does. There's a Radiant Observer there, so Chen will back out just in the nick of time, but once again, playing with fire as he was scouted out. Now 40 gold away. Maybe the mech can help MSI turn around some of these team fights, but it feels like too little too late, as Viper has had his for quite some time. And wow, Team Ags over here on the Dire side, Blaze. That's 3 point boosters well on their way to getting upgraded.
Yeah, then just every single one of these ultimates can really drastically change how the hero is played. So being able to pick all of them up around the same time is just going to really give MSI a loss for words as how to respond to things. They're going to go for the Exorcism up top. They saw the Brewmaster go into Roshan, but they weren't comfortable with contesting it, so they're just going to try to take an easy tower. But right now, the Sand King is in a perfect position to contest it. Unfortunately, his ally is not close enough. Still going for it, though.
Epicenter, TP's in, Burrow Strike on 2. Lots of damage on the Radiant side. Plasma Field to finish off the Witch Doctor once again. Yule's Scepter buys the DP some time. Ultimate's still on, doing a lot of damage to the Razor. His ulti will expire momentarily, so he will heal up, which is great news for the DP. Crypt Swarm hits the Sand King, and Chen comes in with the army. Will test his faith, and Sand King will not pass the challenge. He takes a tumble. It's a 1-for-1 trade. And now Chen on the run will take a concussive, and I think Chen might have bit off more than he can chew here. Mystic Flare comes out. He will fall to make it a 2-for-1. The tower went down, and it was not denied. This time it was picked up with the Radiant by the Radiant, but we can't forget, IAP secured the Roshan in exchange for that Tier 2 tower. So they didn't give it up for nothing, and the Aegis is still standing in the inventory of the Brewmaster, who, oh, by the way, is now level 11.
Yeah, huge position for him to be in, because obviously the Aegis is immense in the first place, but having the Primal Split up and available, level 11, up against a team of this nature without any BKBs, it's just easy pickings. You can single somebody out, absolutely destroy them, while taking somebody else out of the fight the entire time. So it's actually pretty huge what he's able to accomplish, and Ags are coming out left and right. The Razor's going to pick his up off of that fight, and it looks like the Viper's got his as well. That is a huge amount of push potential, that's a lot of physical damage, and then of course the range of initiation on the Viper. And the shorter CD, man, they just have everything going for them right now.
Yeah, and unfortunately for MSI, it looks like they have this scary death ball draft, but they've not really been able to execute it quite properly yet. That lack of early momentum from the Chen getting warded and then those 2 early tower denies, that's really valuable gold in that time when you need it to push you into that mid game. And without that momentum, we're only 20 minutes in, but they're so far behind now. About 7,500 gold, almost 10,000 experience. Not a great position to be in. They do have some recovery potential. Faceless Void on his way to a Maelstrom. So as this game goes on, of course, he'll continue to get more farmed and become more like a carry. And Gyrocopter still not really online. Phase Boots Aquila working on the BKB, but not quite at that recipe mark. Even once he gets the BKB, I'm not totally convinced that it'll be enough. You still have Viper Strike to keep him kind of in place and secure more damage on his way. I don't know. This Gyro is... He just needs more time to come online. Time that he doesn't have. As smoke inbound, and speak of the devil, they'll go straight for the Gyrocopter.
You have to drop down this ward. If this ward was here before, then it would have been an auto kill, but they're still going for it here. 1 stun on Witch Doctor, and there's a huge nuke.
Yeah, Mystic Flare comes out. That forces out the all heal as well as the mech. And now the fight will ensue. Exorcism comes out. Chen on the back foot. He will be the first to fall. Now the Dire mech comes out. That tops him off after the cooldowns. Witch Doctor getting locked down. Still has the Death Ward available. His heal will actually keep him alive. Now they'll go for the Viper as well as the Brewmaster. That brings down the Aegis. Viper taking heavy damage from the Exorcism. On the run, he will make it out back to safety. Razor now pops his BKB. He doesn't finish the Ags. He completed the BKB instead. It's not enough to turn the fight around, though. Chrono on 2, beautifully positioned by the Void, grabs the Skywrath and just barely clips the Razor, but oh, it's the Void's death. Viper clicks him down, and the Razor will still survive. Emma Stone on the high ground will be able to make the escape. So it ends as a 2-for-2 trade. Shen and Faceless Void for the Skywrath and the Brewmaster. Oh, I had said that too soon. It's a 2-for-3. Viper tries to TP home, but he will get caught by the Yules. That's a huge streak going the way of the Gyrocopter. 950 gold, a pretty penny for that Viper bounty.
I'm telling you, you were saying that he really needs to have just this another level of farm that he couldn't possibly imagine, but finding 1,000 gold off of that bounty certainly realizes it very quickly. Now we see coming in the Sand King will get the Burrow Strike off, but Gyrocopter's still pretty quick on his feet, and they do have the heals to keep him up for the moment. So that was actually an extremely effective team fight from MSI, probably the best they could have hoped for there. It's not over yet. We're going to see a BKB TP coming out from Gyro and nothing to cancel it. So they'll walk away using, they've pretty much just fresh off the courier, that 10-second BKB charge. But even still, walking away with the bounty they received was pretty huge. And although it didn't seem like Biobus's Chronosphere did all that much, it was kind of a way of just buying time for them to focus down the targets that were still straggling. Fox got brought down twice in that, getting very cocky with his Earth Spirit, and when it was the only one living, just kind of stood inside the Exorcism. So lost his Aegis still in Primal Split form, and the second time around, he just went a little too deep.
Yep. And you're right, the Chrono, it was to his death as Viper clicked him down, but if he didn't use that Chrono, they wouldn't have secured that kill on the Viper, as he would have just run for it, and Gyro wouldn't have gotten the big bounty. So it was a sacrificial lamb play from the Void that I think was worth it in that scenario for sure. Now looking at the net worth chart, we see MSI slowly but surely climbing their way back towards the top. DP now only about 1,500 gold behind the Viper and the Razor, which is much smaller a gap than it was previous that team fight. Gyrocopter as well, already up to 1,800 gold again following that BKB pickup. We'll see where he wants to go from here, but well on his way to getting some more of those core items. Even though our dire side were off to a good start, they're not in the clear yet. They haven't done that crippling damage, and with team fight potential like MSI, I'm not going to count them out until that throne is down.
Absolutely. The Chronosphere Death Ward is going to be the huge one once Witch Doctor moves in towards his level 11, and perhaps an Negative Scepter. Seems ambitious, but we'll see.
Ooh, down bottom lane. Chen will get dropped in a matter of seconds. Great initiation from the Sand King. The Mystic Flare is there to secure the kill. Tower will stay standing for now. Chrono on 2, connects on the Viper as well as the Sand King. Viper's the target of choice, and he'll get brought down by the Exorcism. Death Ward around the backside, clicking him through. IAP in big trouble. The Primal Split comes in and will finish off the Death Prophet, but the damage has already been done. Panda will now be on the retreat, and Razor so low he's forced to run. Earth Panda still hanging around. They might be able to grab a kill on this Brew once he goes back into Panda form. Witch Doctor with a cask at the ready, gets it off, but he still blinks into the trees. Do they have any way to find him here? No, they don't. No mana on the Void to time walk in. They know he's in there. No call down either. He doesn't have a TP scroll, but I think Fox will survive as they just have no way to get to him.
He's going to eventually blink on out of there, but it comes at a heavy loss. Like, just looking at this situation, IAP were in a commanding position in this game, but they couldn't take the fight with the Aegis. Now they no doubt will flub the other situation where Sand King gets picked off without Epicenter. They absolutely need these Epicenters in these fights to kind of deliver that damage that they're now lacking. Everybody used to drop in like 700, 800 damage very, very quickly, but in that case, even picking off the Chen, no Hand of God, no Mechanism, they still lack the damage because there was no Epicenter.
Yeah, just think about how much different that fight could have been if Chen was there with an all-heal right in the middle of it. Already disastrous, but oh, we'll see the Epicenter come out here. This time the all-heal flies through, and it's just enough to keep the Gyro alive. Whoa, the heal from Witch Doctor will pick him back up. BKB gets popped. Now the turn can commence. Fox without an ultimate won't have too much utility here, and IAP won't have any losses, but I think the real story is MSI without any losses. The power of the Witch Doctor. 4 points in the Voodoo Restoration right now, worth every single point.
Yeah, the fact that they're keeping Gyrocopter up throughout all these fights is quite incredible. But there is one thing that you have to keep in mind is that every single time you use that BKB, the duration gets shorter and shorter. It's now down to 7 seconds, and against a team like this, it's of the utmost importance. There are 3 heroes that are purely magically oriented, and you really gotta worry about what they bring to the table. I mean, the Brewmaster obviously can output a decent amount of physical damage post-Aghanims, but it's really about his disables that is going to cause Gyrocopter no end of suffering.
Yep. And now we'll see some tower exchanging. IAP in the bottom lane will finish off this tier 2 tower, or so they think. The glyph comes out. Maybe Gyro can secure a deny here. He needs to be careful. He's all by his lonesome, and there are a lot of dire forces down here. The tower goes down to Razor, and Gyro, he will concede to death. Even if he pops the BKB, he's not surviving that one. And the mid lane, it gets denied by the Sand King. A huge exchange for Execration.
Yeah, that's pretty huge. Bloodstone will still come out for XXX on the Death Prophet, but they really need some miracle team fights with these ulti combos because it's really weird to talk about a carry item like this, but it is one that gets weaker as the game goes along, so it's hard to pick it up as the first item, and it's probably the biggest weakness of this Gyrocopter build. He'll be happy to get the MKB when he can. That'll be great against the Brew and great to enhance his flat cannon damage, but the fact that he picked up BKB as a first item is now biting him in the ass. He's just in a position where it's harder and harder to fight, and they're more and more reliant on these big ultis.
Oh, initiation in the mid lane here. Emma Stone goes in with a Burrow Strike, and Paralyzing Cast comes out. Won't take any bounces. Death Prophet utilizing that Yule Scepter once again as the reset tool, and will keep herself alive.
Oh, no.
Oh, Chen, he gets force staff forward, and that'll secure a kill on him as he gets silenced. But Chrono on 3. Death Ward comes down right in the fray. Fox, the target of choice. They can't bring him down, at least not yet. The mech gets popped by Viper. He just barely survives. 30 hit points to spare. The Crypt Storm is off the mark. Now the Gyro coming in. BKB deployed. Epicenter from Emma Stone. There's the Yules once again. Fox reinitiates. There's the ultimate. Now the turn. MSI in big trouble. Death Prophet the first to go down. Now the Witch Doctor, the target of choice. They'll slow him up, and they will take him down. Roast him and toast him, Blaze. It's a fucking shake and bake as they dive the base. Gyrocopter falls. The time walk back to the well. 4-0 as IAP take a tier 2 tower and another successful team fight.
Incredible. The pickoffs on the Chen, especially. That was a force staff offensively from the Sand King. Perfectly pulled him out of position, and the Chrono came, but just a moment too late. And that just maybe put the nail in the coffin for MSI. They've tried so hard to keep it up. They have the late game, but it's not going to be realized at 30 minutes into the game.
Yeah, just a great way to start off that fight. They need the sustain from the Chen. And unfortunately, the Brew was the target of choice from the Death Ward. He's just so damn tanky. 30 hit points. If they could have brought him down, maybe that fight would have been different. But the fact that he was able to hop out of the fight, get mech'd up, and then reinitiate with the ultimate, that was the turn. And, oh, just so unfortunate for MSI. 30 hit points, Blaze. Oh, God, so close, yet so far.
Yeah, brutal. But that's kind of how the cookie crumbles. Now we just see them farming up the enemy territory. Saying, these are our ancients, these are our creeps. And making it so that it's very hard for MSI to come back. They still have some ways of doing it. I mean, the Faceless Void has some flash farming with the Maelstrom. He'll clear out wave after wave, but that just puts them further away from home, easier to pick off in these situations. We also see now that the Sand King is probably going to build up an Agadems of his own if he doesn't go for the BKB. So no matter what the case, like it just feels like the team fight isn't there, and with Roche being up, that's of the utmost importance.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good thing to point out. Second Roche has respawned. He actually came up quite some while ago. It was a really quick Roche respawn, and these teams have been a little more focused around skirmishing than they have been controlling the Roche pit. Viper now has a casual vitality booster and a pipe of insight following that successful team fight. So all that magic damage that MSI doesn't really have will not be a big deal. Seems like kind of an odd game for a pipe of insight. We talked about how much physical damage they have. I mean, sure, there is some magical damage here and there, but it's just not a matchup that really screams to me pipe is a core item. I would have thought he'd go straight for a heart.
Definitely agree with you there. I mean, there's Call Down, there's Crypt Storm, there is magic damage, but it just seems negligible unless, like, the Mjolnir is kicking somebody's ass. I don't know. But for right now, that's not going to be happening. It's just going to be some slow farm from some poor offlaners and carries. Right now, if you look at the net worth, 16 and 13,000 is right where you want to be at, as these heroes that kind of act as anti-carries. They're ones who get in there, they slow the crap out of you, you take their damage away, and that's how you win the fights, is by negating their presence. And you now might have to worry about that himself, as we do see Biabas eyeing him, but only the skeletons coming to the party. They're not really going to accomplish too much here.
Yeah, this Razor now working towards a Heart of Tarrasque himself. He's got the recipe and 3,800 gold to spare, so he needs to pull up a little bit more to afford that vitality booster in the Reaver, but not too far away. IAP now positioned around the Roche pit. Meanwhile, MSI grouped up about the top lane. 4 heroes up top, and they've got the Gyro down bottom, and he'll actually head towards the mid lane where racks have fallen. So sort of an odd position here from MSI. with a 4-hero train up towards the top lane, and Gyro just all by his lonesome as the defender. It looks like IAP will be able to secure Roche, though. He's down to about half health, falling slowly, but MSI will not contest. Instead, they'll just go straight for the tier 3s. Exorcism pop, Glyph cooling down in about 2 seconds, and that will buy Execration valuable seconds that they need to make the defense here.
Epicenter coming out.
Oh, there it is. The blink forward. Emma Stone. Burrow Strike onto 2. The Witch Doctor and the DP. That forces out the all-heal. BKB used by the Razor, and a send back on the Death Prophet. So she's out of the fight, and now Witch Doctor will just get picked off. They leave the Brewmaster behind to finish off Roche. That's successful, and now they catch the Chen with another Burrow Strike. This is a great defense from IAP. They'll keep their tier 3 tower safe. They grab 2 hero kills and a Roche out of it. Doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, they didn't even have to go for the big split for that one. Now Fox has that, and the Aegis once again, it's just a rerun of what has happened in the past. They just don't see Emma Stone lurking in the shadows. Ralph is really getting these big combos off, and it's paying them dividends as they're able to just crush their opposition. Yeah, they were able to test the faith back the Death Prophet and keep her alive, but she's the one they want to be on the front line dealing damage with Exorcism. So as soon as that happened, the fight was over, and they were just pretty much trying to minimize their losses in their retreat. And there's a BKB in base.
Another BKB charge. Yeah, that's one of those. Well, we'll hold that thought for a second here. Skywrath and Void will go blow for blow. Time Walk over the trees, but there's the Yule's Scepter. And the counter Yule's Scepter coming out onto the Skywrath Mage. Looks like we're playing some Dota in the Windy City here. And, well, support will be inbound, and Skywrath will survive as he gets a nice positive earn charge. But, yeah, that was kind of odd. The Gyro had an invisibility rune, missed the call down on the Brew with an Aegis, and then got initiated on and said, oh, crap, now I have to BKB, and then just TP'd home. He's now down to a 4-second BKB. Oh, 5 seconds, pardon me, but that's like the 3rd time we've seen him use a BKB charge just to survive in a situation that could have been essentially avoided.
Yeah, and it's just, it gets to this point where now it doesn't feel like hardly an item at all. It's going to give him a little bit of durability. It'll help for a few seconds here, but Sanking's still been timing his Epicenter to wait out the BKB charge and just obliterate him. And now it turns more attention to the Faceless Void. Bayabas really has to step up his game, focus on the big chronos, and obviously make use of the 10-second BKB he just picked up.
And the BKB will come in handy. He is doing more damage now, but is it enough? I think the positioning in this team fight is more key, with a big Death Ward as well as this Gyrocopter doing a lot of damage. He still has no points in Homing Missile, not that he needs it, but does have the maxed flat cannon right now. Witch Doctor also level 11, so that level 2 Witch or Death Ward is here. Maybe that can be the damage they need to tip the scales. He's still 1,400 gold away from the Ag Scepter. Once that comes out, I think MSI could have a real chance at trying to turn this around, but 1,400 gold on a position 4 Witch Doctor is not going to be easy to come by here. IAP pressing forward once again, knocking on the front door. They already used the pipe, no glyph available, and there's the Chronosphere. On 3 around the backside, and it will isolate him as Razor takes a lot of damage. He pops his BKB, the all-heal comes out. Razor might fall. This Chrono was great to separate the fight. The Brew's committed, though. He uses the Primal Split in the base, wants this Witch Doctor, but he won't find it. The Test of Faith goes through. Now the follow-up Burrow Strike from Emma Stone. No Epicenter quite yet. The Mystic Flare, that'll proc the Aegis. Maybe they can bring down the Void. So many tornadoes coming out. The reset tools are just too much. MSI will survive, mitigating their losses, and it ends as just a 1-0 Razor dead, and they also burn the Aegis.
Yeah, I'm really not sure about that whole engage. I mean, it should have been okay. We do see re-engage happening here. Witch Doctor going to take some big hits from Sandstorm, but Silence forces a retreat. The Viper Strike, again, doing damage, but not fatal. So in this position, they keep on trucking along, but like, I don't know. They even got the Viper Strike on the Void, so he didn't do any damage in Chrono, but it's just not working out yet so far.
Oh, call down comes in. Emma Stone hops forward, takes some damage as he does. 2 fights breaking out here as Basan is the target of choice on the front lines. Faceless Void gets left behind. Mystic Flare, the mech to try to bring him back, but it isn't enough. Basan secures the kill, and now MSI on the back foot. Gyro pops the BKB, tries the man up on the Viper. BKB now already expired. Fox gets silenced. He's on the run. And he will get stunned up. They might be able to bring him down. Sand King did fall on the other side of the fight as we watch the Void fall. He'll buy back, TP to the bottom tier 2 tower, and book it down to this fight. He still has an Epicenter available, ready to make it rain, as it were. Skywrath taking some right clicks, will survive for now. No, Death Prophet gets one last one to bring him down. Crypt Swarm almost finishing off the Brewmaster. Pasan very low as well, but now you back in the party. Uses the Plasma Field, BKB pop, the call down flies, Eye of the Storm comes out as well. Epicenter will come out eventually. There it is, finishes off the Gyrocopter. It'll cost him a Viper, but now DP will fall. Fox still alive. It's been a long fight, but MSI, they've overextended. It started as a defense of the base. They moved all the way out halfway through the lane, and they get punished for their poor positioning. Blink forward, Burrow Strike will finish off the Witch Doctor, and now the team gets wiped. The base will be under assault. Buyback from the Gyrocopter. Faceless Void respawns. Has a Chronosphere. He's now level 16. It's on that low cooldown. And again, the Tier 3 tower will stand. Really a sloppy fight on both sides of the coin.
Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't really impressed by the Brewmaster micro there. A lot of usage of spells that I wouldn't agree with in general. But when it came down to it, it was MSI were able to master around a great defense and then just kept on going with it as if they had the advantage. But when you have a Razor with a Heart of Tarrasque, he's going to win a sustained fight. He just has too much going for him at that time. This guy has racked up 3,200 HP. In a matter like 12 seconds out of the fight, he's going to be back to full every time. And if he gets a disengage off, he can re-engage with just his whole arsenal of spells that absolutely counteracts Gyrocopter's effectiveness.
Gyrocopter, he's had the MKB, and since then he just hasn't been able to find too much in the way of farm. All that gold that he had saved up went to that buyback, and they did hold the base, so I guess a worthy expenditure, but still kind of crippling his item progression here. He will now pick up a Morbid Mask, so some lifesteal coming out onto the field. I reckon that'll eventually turn into a Satanic. And, wow, Razor still just leagues ahead of everyone else, holding about a 4,500 net worth lead over the Chen. We'll move into the Roche Pit, scouts it out, not even close to respawning, but will find himself a nice 67 gold bounty there as he picks off a stray Wild Wing Ripper.
Yep, so he's got the ulti popped, unfortunately, but not the biggest cooldown to expend when everything's kind of breaking down into passive lines. They're drawn across the map right now, pretty much on the side of the river for the Radiant. They're just trying to keep it passive. But we do have one man out of position for right now. He is just going to be farming up on the top lane. Does have BKB and TB Scroll, as well as, of course, the Time Walk to escape. And for right now, he is actually completely in the clear. The Radiant don't know it in full. They see a couple on the bottom lane, but there are a couple others in the jungle just looking for an opening.
Yeah, Execration are eager to finish off this bottom tier 3 tower. The Glyph has cooled down, so MSI will have another reset tool in this upcoming team fight. Death Prophet working towards her Heart of Tarrasque, has Vitality Booster and 2,900 gold to spare, so not too far off the mark for that Reaver. But right now the talk of the town is this Witch Doctor. He is 350 gold away from that last piece of his Ag Scepter, the item that could actually turn this game around and stop these fights from being kind of an even hold into a victory for MSI. We'll see Razor go straight in, pipe popped with the Eye of the Storm, forces out the Glyph before the fight starts. All of the big ultimates are available. It will be all about initiation here. Void hops forward, pops his BKB, takes a Viper Strike. Where's the Chronosphere? He's saving it. And that'll be a wasted BKB for the Void. Also, the Exorcism comes out, and IAP, they're not committed. They'll be happy to disengage with that cooldown expended.
Yeah, the second they saw the Void jump in, it was just scatter mode for them. They pulled off a Delta Split, and Void knew that he would not get a good chrono out of that. At best, two, but even that seemed very difficult to pull
Especially
off,
with the Viper Strike on him, makes it so much harder to get in the position to land that money chrono. So no Exorcism, no BKB on the Void. Maybe Execration can make this team fight happen. They'll look over to the Roche Pit, hoping for a respawn. They're just about to get to the RNG timer, and oh my Jesus, a 5-second Roche respawn. But they're not going to see it. Oh, wow, that is heartbreaking.
Maybe the courier will go back over it. I don't know.
Maybe. That's one of the fastest Roche respawns I've ever seen. So bittersweet. That's a third Roche as well. Cheese, and this is the perfect time to move into it without that DP ulti. Will it get scouted out? Brew walking by? Nope. Wow. And it's a Mask of Madness on the Gyro. Okay. Interesting. You don't see that too often.
Not too often at all, but there is some value in it. One thing I would have to say is that Witch Doctor just needs to sell something. A Magic Wand and Urn, get that items up because you're going to need it for this next fight. But he's
if they get wiped in this fight, that's pretty much GG. So this is do or die.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see how this fight breaks out. The tower was denied. Brew hops in. Primal Split right onto the DP. There's the Yules to separate it out. BKB popped on the Void, and he will go in. Finds Emma Stone as well as Poisson. He will be able to bring down the Sand King. It looks like no. Not enough damage. There's no follow-up. The mech is there. Now they'll turn it around onto the Void. Epicenter gets channeled. Nowhere for him to go. Time Walk up in one. He makes it to the high ground. He survives, but his team not so lucky. Chen, Witch Doctor, and Gyrocopter all got picked off by the Skywrath and Brewmaster as we were watching that little skirmish break out. It's a 4-0. Razor in the base right now, just keeping DP completely isolated, and I think we could be moments from a GG here, Blaze.
Yeah, that fight just was absolutely disastrous for them. They were way too patient about it. They should have just kind of gone on the front line, at least cover up this general area with the sphere so that there couldn't be any further invasion, because on the back line, they just got absolutely wrecked. The Void didn't even survive. It's just like they were pinned down 100%. So I commend their efforts pulling out this long. 42 minutes, not too bad against what they saw in the early game, but we just see too much strength coming out from IAP, especially this Razor and this Viper. Hearts everywhere. How do you survive? How do you even bring it down? Just no answer.
And there it is, the GG, right as the throne falls. IAP.XCTN secure their first win in Starladder Season 10, at least in the SEA Qualifier. A pretty intense game, but, well, MSI, they just can't come out ahead. There you go. Interactive Philippines, victorious. Oh, boy. What an action-packed game, though. So much aggression back and forth, and it truly was a bloodbath. That poor Chen, he never really got going. He had a couple of clutch heals, but I think that last team fight, you're right. Void, tunnel visioning on the Sand King, just a little bit too much. I can understand the sentiment. Sand King had a couple of really big ultimates that turned fights around, but for that last hold, you needed a chrono on more than just the Sand King and the Viper. So with that, guys, we'll have another quick break. This time it won't be an hour, I believe, more like 15 to 20 minutes until our final match of the day will get underway. And Blaze, what is our final match of the day? Do you recall?
Yeah,
Myth versus Invasion. Are you pumped? Are you ready? Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm excited to see how they perform. Myth Trust have kind of had their on and off phases, and I think they still are a team with a lot of potential. So, and Invasion has impressed and upset many, many different times. So, although this is might be a matchup that favors them slightly, in general, these guys should both be looking for a big win here.
Absolutely. So again, we'll have a quick break, guys. I'm Zyori. The guy joining me remotely is Blaze. Thank you so much for joining us for day 1 of Starladder Season 10. Don't go anywhere, because we've got one more match coming your way.